Sharp marketing, smart moves. Find a better way. Systems lined up, AI in play. Now the pipeline flows. More deals, Mastermind, where agents come to learn and grow. Build your pipeline, create momentum, and open doors to something more. Stop competing for listings. Start creating them. Create more opportunities in any market. More deals. Mastermind.com. Let's go.
I don't know about you, but I just giggle every single time you put that song on. That is great. Welcome everybody to the More Deals Mastermind. My name is Robert Weichelt. I'm your host, along with my co-host Kathy Ryan. Kathy, how are you today?
Oh, I'm fired up today. We're going to go. This subject for me is near and dear to my heart.
I know nobody knows this market, this space, than better than you, so that's for sure. I want to welcome everybody to the call. See a lot of familiar faces. Hello, Linda, Norm, Seth, everybody that's on the call. Thank you so much for joining us today for another episode of the More Deals Mastermind. It's a real estate podcast we do every single Wednesday, 1 p.m. Pacific, 4 p.m. Eastern. And you go to moredealsmastermind.com. That is the live Zoom link. And Kathy is going to share some amazing stuff for you today. And it's titled The Short Sale Comeback, Helping Homeowners Out of a Bad Situation. Just so we're clear, I do not want anyone to lose their home ever, never, ever, ever, never, never. However, there's a lot of distress out there. There's folks that are behind in their payments. We need to reach out to them as professional agents. We need to reach out to them and guide them. Most people that you speak to in this space want to keep their home. Not everybody can. We're going to share with you today the inner workings of the short sale, because that market, guys, is certainly coming back again. I don't want anyone to lose their home, so let's help them keep it. So Kathy has some really just personal information she's going to share, but just some really good realtor information. She can be that trusted advisor. Kathy, let's do this. Before we get started, let's tell the audience, who is Kathy Ryan?
Well, Kathy Ryan, I have been a realtor now for over 30 years. I started in the business as a broker's assistant for an REO agent who also did short sales. So I learned way back in the 90s how to do short sales, as well as in 2005, I became a trained loss mitigation counselor, to where as a realtor I got assignments from the banks. Our clients were Countrywide, was one of the biggest ones when they still exist. Bank of America, Washington Mutual, Wells Fargo. I worked with all of them. And I would be sent out to the homeowners' homes with usually a loan modification that they just had to sign and send back to the bank to be able to keep their homes. This was at the beginning of all of this. Oh. So it evolved, and then really start noticing the market. Well, my first short sale was in 2005. Then that is way before the crash of 2008. In 2006, it was like somebody turned the real estate faucet off. I was always a top producer. I would close 1 to 2 deals a month. And in June,
you
all
didn't
stopped.
Want the big one. That's a now you don't want the small one.
I'm going to mute everybody.
I went ahead and did that. I'll play sniper. I'll play sniper, Kathy.
Okay. Good. All right. So in 2006, our home went into foreclosure. It was pretty scary. During that time, we didn't know what to do, and all of that. We weren't short. I didn't want to sell the home. My husband did. So it caused, problems there. Financial stress always causes problems in a marriage. The trust deed sale ended up being just before Christmas. We ended up selling it before the trust deed sale. So we did not have a foreclosure on our record. And keep that in mind, because when we get to that, that's really important for you to know and how to talk to these homeowners. So it became my passion and basically a ministry to help these people not lose their homes and not, and go through the process and not knowing not what the future holds for them, because they're scared. They don't know. They have no idea. And I'll never forget, and this is what really sealed the deal for me, was in 2005. It was the day before Thanksgiving. I got an assignment from Linton Loan Servicing with a loan modification for a homeowner, a family out in Hemet, California. I went and knocked on their door. We always went late in the afternoon, early evenings. It was starting to get dark. And I knocked on their door, and both of them came to the door, and the looks on their faces was pure horror. They thought I was there to move them out. That's what these homeowners thought. Said, no, I'm not. I'm here on behalf of Linton Loan Servicing. I have a solution for you to keep your home. Can I come in and talk to you? We sat down at the table. I presented the loan modification. It knocked $50,000 off their loan, reduced the payment. And I said, all you need to do is go to a notary and sign this, and you'll be able to stay in your home. They started crying. They said they had been praying for somebody to come help them. They just didn't know where to get help. And I started crying, and that sealed it for me. As a realtor, my job is, and our jobs is to the best that we can for our clients and help these people. We're not salespeople. I've never looked at myself as a salesperson. I always looked at myself as a problem solver, a customer service person that went out and whatever situation that homeowner or buyer is in, I want to find solutions for them. And that's how I started really my short sale business and all of this. So for the next 10 years, that's all I did. And I negotiated and closed well over 300 short sales. I probably have counseled well over 1,000 homeowners that never did anything. Now that number I don't like, and I don't like saying it, but that's the reality. Is these homeowners, they don't want to face it. They really don't. And that's why you need to go with contribution, go with compassion, have solutions first to help them save their home. 90% of them can't stay in their home because they've lost a job, there's no income, whatever, or they're too ill. Whatever has happened, there was a death in the family, whatever has happened, they can't keep their home. So we need to go out there and be their homeowner advocate and help them. So what I'm going to share with you today.
And so, Kathy,
is,
before you get started, because I think this is important to reiterate, when you walked up to their door, I got to be honest with you, I've been knocking on those doors before, only when I come from the REO side. So coming from contribution like you were with a solution, a $50,000 solution,
Mhm.
they're horrified. They were petrified. You were there to move them. It gave me goosebumps because you gave them hope. And that's really what our message is we want to make sure we're reaching out to the folks that are in distress, not to take listings, but to create opportunities to build relationships and help people keep what they want. If they want to keep their home, let's explore the options. But I'm telling you, if you can relieve the stress like that, you've created a raving fan forever. And I think it's important for us agents to know we need to take the information we have and let's get out there and help our neighbors. So Kathy, I look forward
Yeah.
to what you're going to share with us today. Go ahead and take it away. I can't wait.
And to that point is I did a short sale for a couple in 2011. I have helped them since get back into another home in 2 years. And since then helped them buy and sell 4 times
That
after
is
that.
awesome. That's to my point. Look what you did. You
Yeah.
created raving fans. And I'm telling you, it's a goosebump moment. So man, I'm so excited. That's great.
Okay, so let's get started.
Yeah. Let it rip.
So,
I love it.
so I was pulling up some pre-foreclosures, some notice of default. So just so you know that every state is different, and if you're not in California, you should go and find out what the foreclosure process is in your state. But here in California, it's a notice of default state. So here in Riverside County is one of the largest counties in the United States by population. So I pulled up in the last 60 days how many new notice of defaults have been filed. There were more than 300. 50% of them was less than 10% equity.
Whoa.
Let that one sink in.
Wow.
That's not a good number.
Mm-hmm.
That means that they purchased most likely in the last 5 years since COVID, in the boom, and they're FHA or VA buyers.
Yep.
Yeah. So, one little dip in the market and they're underwater. So yeah, less than 10%. So there are opportunities out there for the short sale. And it's not like a traditional sale and all that stuff. So the foreclosure clock, the foreclosure is a process. It runs on a clock. So generally you miss payments. There's a federal law that says that a lender, bank, servicer cannot start the foreclosure process for 120 days. That's federal law. So federal law supersedes state laws. So that means that the banks can't start a foreclosure process for 4 months. So that's 4 missed payments. That's good to know, because you may be out there advertising for distressed homeowners and they haven't had a foreclosure filing yet. And this is the reason why. The banks will be reaching out to them any way they can to see if there is some way for them to keep their home by doing a loan modification, forbearance agreement, so on and so forth. Then it moves to the notice of default, or in judicial foreclosure states, it would be the filing, the lawsuit actually being filed with the courts. The notice of default here is a 90-day period. The judicial foreclosure, that could be up to 18 months. It's a lot slower and a lot different. Then after the 90-day period, if nothing has been done with that homeowner, then it moves to the notice of trust deed sale, where the auction is scheduled 21 days later. So it is so much better if a homeowner asks for help earlier in the process than when you're getting to the trust deed sale just before auction stage.
This probably
Because
doesn't happen a lot, huh? They seem to always procrastinate.
yeah, and that's going to be the majority of people, is they are ostriches. They stick their head in the sand, or they stay in bed and put the covers over their head,
Yeah.
So if we can get to them sooner, the better.
And Kathy, to that point, I work, just so we're clear, I specialize in the FSBO expired market, but I also have a real knack for reaching out to distressed homeowners, because for full disclosure, I'm an REO broker, have been since the 90s. So I do work with corporate sellers, but I have a passion for folks that have little or no hope of how to fix this. They're just hoping and praying. They're digging their head in the sand and they're like, I don't know how to do this. It feels good when you reach out to somebody, because every single one of them, Kathy, that I've talked to, without exception, maybe very few exception, but very little exception, they all want to keep their home. So we want to explore those options. So let's go over the signs of distressed sellers.
Well, the filed notices, those are public record, and every single state, when a lawsuit is filed, it becomes public record. When a list pendants is filed, it's a public record. Notice of default, so on and so forth. Other signs of distress. The HOA has filed a list pendants. If they can't pay their HOA dues, and a lot of these homeowners don't realize that the HOA can foreclose on them.
Yeah, they forget that.
And that's huge. So you're looking for that. You're looking for tax delinquencies.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't pay their property taxes in 5 years, there's a tax sale. And somebody come in and pay the arrears of the taxes, and they own your property, whether it has a loan or not. They have to cure the loan, but they own it. You don't. Expired and canceled listings. There's been a lot of overlap recently between the expireds and canceled and the pre-foreclosures, what I've been noticing. Your professional referral database. Reach out to bankruptcy attorneys, estate attorneys, divorce attorneys, because a lot of times the divorce attorneys, the only way to resolve things, and they have a lot of debt, they may be going into bankruptcy. So there's opportunities there. So you just have to know where to look. The other thing to look for is when you're driving through a neighborhood, the neighborhood that has dirt front yards, weeds, that looks like the house isn't being maintained. Those are signs of people in distress.
Yep.
And there is a way to market to them where you're not saying, "Oh, are you losing your home?" No, you just, now may be the time for you to reach out and sell or something like that. There's different ways of reaching out to these people.
And mostly, Kathy, it comes from contribution. If you come in hot, telling them the obvious that their home's in foreclosure or pre-foreclosure, that's not a real good way to get on the right side. So if you're coming in with compassion and you truly want to help somebody save their home, because that's their goal, by the way, if you can guide them and save their home, I guarantee it. In the event they explore all those options, they're coming back to you. I've had people come back to me saying, "Hey, Robert, you helped us in this process. It didn't work out. Can you help us sell them?" I said, "Well, I thought your family members in the business. You're the one that reached out. You're the expert in this space. We trust you." So it works, guys.
Right. And there's sneaky ways to find a homeowner that their lawn's dead, or there's peeling paint and stuff like that. You have your title company look them up, you skip trace them, and you put them on a Facebook custom audience.
Yep.
And they start seeing that message over and over again.
And also, real quick, I'm going to add put that link in there we talked about. If anyone wants to go to My Plus Leads, you can get FSBOs, expireds, and pre-foreclosure NOD, NOT, FYI.
Yes. Yep. That's a good source. That's my source as well. So the first conversation, don't start with, "Do you want to sell your house?" You start with, "What happened? Why did you fall behind? What did you lose a job? Is there an illness?" Something. You want to get to that, because that one, you need to know that for the short sale, because there has to be a hardship for the short sale. Where are you in the foreclosure process? Another great question, because they could be 5 days from trust deed sale. There's nothing you can do except for if you're in California. Any other state, there's not much you can do. Here in California, there is a law that went into effect in 2024 that if they sign a listing agreement, get it in the MLS, the trustee has to postpone the trustee sale for 45 days to give them time to sell the property, or a fully executed purchase agreement. It applies to both. Have you spoken with your lender? A lot of these people are so afraid to be speaking to their lenders that they haven't done that, when in fact there may be a solution if they would get on the phone that they could help them and keep their home. So we encourage that. But again, it depends on where they are in the process. What outcome are you hoping for? This is where well, I'm just done. I want to sell my home. Okay, great. I can help you with that. I want to keep my home. Great. I can help you with that. That's your first thing, is if they have to tell you they want to sell. If they don't tell you that, then you guide them to the direction of working with their lender. Do you want to stay in your home? I just covered that.
And Kathy, it's interesting. Most agents are going, "Oh, wow, I don't want to give legal advice." Yeah, we're not giving legal advice, nor are we suggesting that.
Right.
We're not getting compensated for our work. We are just guiding people with the common sense answers to their questions. How do I save my home? First place to call is the bank. What are my options? Loan
Mhm.
mod, reconvey. There's lots of different things to do. We are guiding them. So, Kathy, what you're doing is huge.
So now that we've identified a homeowner, distressed homeowner that is willing to work with us, and they gotten to the point where there's no way they can keep their home. So now we have to determine whether or not it is a short sale. Basic definition of a short sale is they owe more in their mortgage loans than is what it's worth. So this includes, and you need to be conscious of this, this includes the first, the second, possibly a hero loan that's attached to the taxes. I have seen where they've gotten help from the state. So there's some grant loans as well, grants that, and all those need to be remedied. So that's where the short sale can become complicated, but it really is not. So first we need to estimate the market price. We're all experts in our field. We all know how to do a CMA and determine.
We should know how to do a CMA.
Well, I hope you know how to do a
Not
CMA.
everybody does.
So you determine what the market price would be. You find out what are the payoffs on the loans. A great tool that I use is from my title company. It's Monarch Title, but Palm Agent, you can get it on your own or you can get it through your title company. It's a great tool that will do a net sheet for you. And it also pulls all the loan information and estimated loan balances. So you don't have to go to the homeowner and say, well, what's the balance on this loan? What's the balance on that loan? And you don't need to burden them with that to determine whether this is a short sale or not. You can do it on your own. Delinquency, ask them how many payments you are behind. If a notice of default or a judicial foreclosure hasn't been filed yet, you don't know what they're delinquent. Ask them, because all that interest that is accruing gets tacked on top of that loan. That's where we talked about the 10% of equity. This is where it starts getting eaten up before any closing costs. Taxes. If they're behind in their payment, most likely they're behind in their taxes. Go to the county assessor, pull up their tax bill. It's public record, and it will let you know whether or not they are in default on their taxes. Then you add the selling costs. And it's whatever you choose and whatever your customary costs are. Each state is different. So that's where you put in that. And that's where that Palm Agent works really well. And then you estimate the seller proceeds. Okay. Are they getting any money back? If they're not getting any money back, it's a short sale. Even if it's just $1,000, it's a short sale, because even though you estimated the price, it may not be what a buyer's willing to pay for it. So that's how you determine the short sale. And do the math. Don't assume it. You're the expert here. You're the professional. You need to know it. So
You tell them, Kathy.
so home value of 600,000, 10% equity is $60,000. Well, if their payment is $4,000 a month and they're behind 4 payments, most of that is interest. So that's going to be what? What's 4 times 4? That's $16,000 plus closing costs, arrear taxes, so on and so forth. So you can see where that 10% equity could go really quick.
Oh,
And
absolutely.
if somebody comes in and offer $25,000 less. So applying for a short sale. Bank of America, I don't know if Wells Fargo is still doing this, but Bank of America still is. I went on their website. they can, if all else fails and they have a Bank of America loan, and they can't keep the property, they can go in and apply for a short sale without having an offer. It's called a pre-short sale. And then that way they get their approval letter. They know how much the bank is willing to settle for, and then go market the property. But in most cases, that isn't going to happen. So applying for a short sale is just like applying for a home loan to get the property. Now you're applying to get out of the property. Same process. So there is an application. Each lender has their own. And if not, you go to the Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac website, and there is a remedy mortgage agreement or application, something like that. It's an RMA is what they call it. So the application needs to be filled out. Pay stubs, they need the last 30 days of pay stubs. They need to prove that they're insolvent, that they cannot make the payment is what they need. They need 3 months of bank statements, 2 years of tax returns, assets and liabilities. Sometimes they ask for it, sometimes they don't. Financial documentation basically is a hardship letter. Why did they get behind? In your initial talking to this homeowner, you should already know that. So, and hopefully we don't get to the point the way we were back in the housing crisis where people can make their payment, but they were so upside down on their loans, they said, I'm not keeping this house anymore. And the damage to their credit, they would get behind in payments so they could do a short sale. So those are just some of the things that have happened. And a fully executed purchase agreement. You have to have a buyer. You have to have a buyer, and you have to send in the purchase agreement, proof of funds, and pre-approval. The buyer can ask for closing cost coverage, and this is where it's going to come into buyer compensation. And this is going to be a new one. And I don't know how this is going to turn out because I haven't done a recent short sale on how they handle buyer agent compensation, if they'll allow it to be processed through the short sale. I imagine they would, because they did it last time. They paid the buyer's agent compensation. So I imagine they will, but that's going to be an interesting hurdle, and we'll have to see on that one.
I think you're going to see the same way as they did last time. They know it's an inherent fee, the customary closing cost, title, escrow, lender, though, and so on, and compensation. I think you're going to see a lot of the common sense techniques that they used from last time. Not all things are common sense. There was nothing short about a short sale before, but I think you're going to see more common sense related activities this time around.
Yeah, I sure hope so. And the other thing to know is that if a buyer needs help with closing costs, most likely FHA and VA short sales, or VA buyers and FHA buyers will pay some of the closing costs. Not always. And if it's a conventional, no. Absolutely not. Before they were giving some move out money, and when you package that all together and submitting that, you need to ask for all these things. Where do you get the short sale package? The lender's website generally, and you just go under and search homeowners assistance. And I went to a few websites and they're still up there. The first they want to see if put in for loss mitigation, see if they can keep their home. And then there's short sale packages there as well that you can download. So how do you market a short sale? I'm going to turn this one over to Robert.
Well, I appreciate that, Kathy. So far, man, you've really just hit it out of the park. I think one thing we want to remember is we need to lead with compassion. This isn't a FSBO and expired. These are homeowners in distress, and they need to be treated accordingly with compassion. And you're coming from contribution. And at the end of the day, you want to get them the absolute highest and best price for their home, just like any other seller. This isn't one thing, hey, I can call up a buddy of mine that's fixing flipping and give them a discount. We still want to sell the home for the highest and best price in the shortest amount of time with the least amount of liability, hassle, and expense. What I use, and I put in a couple links in the chat earlier. 14-day, there's a 14-day trial for FSBOs, expireds, and pre-foreclosure sellers. I've also added a cash offers platform. Check it out. It doesn't cost you anything. You can run cash offers for these sellers right away, but you're going to find that those cash offers may not be the best price. Biggest picture is definitely not going to compete with the traditional seller. So what Kathy's talking about is how to market a short sale. You market it like you would any other seller. You want to get them the highest and best price, but you want to remember we have a time frame we're dealing with. We use the 14-day home offers platform, fully transparent offers, fully transparent compensation. It does, this platform, the 14-day process, drives the highest and best price, fully transparent. Number one, that's the best mechanism to get the absolute highest and best market value. Number one. Number two, you get a chance to show that loss mitigation folks that are making those decisions on approving or not that short sale, because the offers are fully transparent. The loss mitigation folks that are stamping that approval will see that you did absolutely everything in your power to arrive at the highest and best price. So a short sale is no different than any other property. We want the highest and best price. And the 14-day home offers, I'm telling you what, guys, I'm going to put a link in the chat. Take it for a test drive. It's absolutely the best way to get a home sold, whether it's a short sale or not.
And going back to the cash offers on a short sale, the cash plus, the dual sale ones will not work on a short sale because of the holdback. You know, there's a reserve that's being held back. Well, there's nothing to hold back. So I wouldn't even present those offers to a distressed homeowner that doesn't have more than 40% equity in their property. Just so you know.
There's Kathy, and you can run the cash offers. There's multiple opportunities. Not all of them work, but there is enough to get the party started with momentum in getting those offers going.
Well, I see that Wendy just jumped on, and one way this 14-day home offers works is that you can prove to the bank you did your best and that's the highest and best offer. Because we can bring Wendy on here if she is available.
Yeah, Wendy's always ready to rock and roll. Just don't ask her to go climb a roof or get on a roof and climb a ladder, right, Wendy?
Oh man, you know what? I'm trying to get my video to come on because something's weird here and I don't want to leave and then come back. So
that's okay.
Yes, don't climb a ladder, period.
Hey, so Wendy, question for you. How important is doing a BPO, a proper BPO in a property?
It's everything. If you can't do it, don't even bother with a short sale, period.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm. So with that said, Wendy will put in the chat, I'm sure she can do that. She teaches the most comprehensive BPO course in history, in my opinion. So reach out to, I think becoming an expert at evaluating properties is the most important thing you need to do with any seller. So Wendy, thank you so much for any other words about how important it is for the BPOs and understanding how to evaluate property.
You know, I was just talking to people who took the course this morning, and the number one thing they're hearing is, can you change your BPO value? That's the number two. Don't ever change your BPO value. Stand by what you come up with. And then they actually came back to this agent and said, wait, why did you just change it? Well, you asked me to. Come on. All kinds of games, right? Do your work, know how to do it, stand by it.
Yes.
Just like an appraiser does, right?
Yep.
Yeah. Well, and that's a really good point. You know, learn how to do the BPOs and do a BPO on your short sale.
Yep.
Because that's what the lender is going to go by to value the property to approve your short sale.
Exactly. And Kathy, we tell people when you have an interior BPO and they're in trouble, because usually it'll say on the BPO order, that's your chance to talk short sales. That's your chance to be the good guy who comes with empathy,
Mhm.
right?
Right.
So appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah. So, Wendy, if you could put your link in the chat, Antoinette would like that link.
And I'm
And
sure
thank
everybody
Absolutely.
you
else.
very much for your input. Because yeah, a BPO can make or break a short sale. I can't tell you how many BPOs I fought. One, if it's only going to be a drive-by BPO, get with that loss mitigation counselor, your contact person, and say, no, it has to be an interior, because the outside of the house could look great, but the inside of the house needs cosmetic work, or there's holes in the walls. Something's going on in there that is going to affect the value. And if they don't go inside to see that, you're stuck with that high BPO.
Yep.
And also another thing, Kathy, I want to bring up is what Wendy just mentioned. When you go out there and start accepting BPOs, and again, reach out to Wendy, she'll guide you in the right direction in terms of that. But when you start doing BPOs, you get a heads up on the potential short sales out there. Like Wendy said, it's an opportunity to start the conversation. And I'm telling you, it is inside baseball right there. It's fantastic.
Yep. So
So
thank you,
Kathy,
Wendy. We appreciate you.
yes,
Thank you. Same here.
and Wendy, thanks for putting that in the chat. So Kathy, let's keep rocking.
All right, here we go. So the short sale process, we gather documents, submit the package, the valuation, the BPO. Again, don't let them just do a drive-by. It's got to be an interior. Otherwise, you're fighting, and it makes it a lot harder. Let's put it that way. And then it gets sent for approval. There may be additional approvals. If there's PMI, private mortgage insurance, on the loan, so anything less than 20% has private mortgage insurance, has PMI. PMI has to approve the short sale as well. So they have their own guidelines, as well as the lender has their own guidelines. So that's how it has to be approved. If there's more than one loan, you'll be sending up a short sale package to each lender. And usually what I do is if there's a second, I will say they'll get $2,000. And then the first will get the rest of it. The first will always come back and say no if it's too much or not enough, and so on and so forth. And they'll change that. Then you got to go back to the second, but the second's in a vulnerable position, because if the first forecloses, they're wiped off. They're gone. So most of the time they will work with you and know that hopefully they'll know they'll get a little bit versus nothing. Quick story. This was in 2007, I think. I did a short sale. There was a second on the property. The short sale, the offer that I had on it only made the second short. The first got 100% paid off. And it was only $10,000 that it was short on a $100,000 second. So it was one of those 80-20 plans, loans, the liar loans. And the guy from that lender, he told me, he goes, no, we're just going to foreclose and take the property back. I said, okay, do you realize you have to cure the first? You have to remedy the first. Yeah, we're aware of that, but we're confident we'll be okay. I said, for $10,000, you'll be okay. And he goes, what? You have a crystal ball? I said, I've been in this business long enough, and I've been in up and down markets long enough to see that you're going to lose. And sure enough, he lost. The people moved out. The house got vandalized. They kicked a hole in the wall from the kitchen into the master bedroom. I mean, there was some severe damage to this house. Yeah, they lost $100,000. So did I have a crystal ball? Yeah. And I'm not saying I know exactly what's going to happen. I can see the trend. You know, the trend, consumer debt being, what is it, $1.3 trillion? In credit card debt. The amount of people that are behind in car payments and cars being repossessed. Those are signs that people are in trouble, and first they start not paying those things, and then they stop paying their home loans. So we're heading into a market, but it's not going to be a 2008 market, I don't think. Do you, Robert?
No, it's going to be a little different than that. We've got a different dynamic going on. People can't seem to stop using their homes as ATMs. Has never gone away. So that's a big leading indicator. Look at just look at your local jurisdictions. Look at your medians. Look at where they're starting to cut back. You can start seeing a lot of different indications of things changing. So just pay attention to what's around you.
Yeah. So submitting all the documents at one time is very important, because any missing documents or not correct documents will delay in the process. And that gets you closer to that trust deed sale, that auction date. So once you're approved, yay, once you're approved, you start moving ahead with the transaction. It becomes a normal transaction. Usually they give you 45 days to close. Some will give you 60. I don't tell my buyer's agents that. And they'll ask for the short sale approval letter. I don't tell them that because I don't give them that because it has personal information to the homeowner. One of the things that is on there when you negotiate your short sale is, are you in a deficiency judgment state? Which means anything that is forgiven, the lender can go after them to collect. So in a short sale, you negotiate with them that if there's a $50,000 loss, they agree not to pursue that homeowner for the deficiency. In other words, to repay it. That's very important. Here in California, we are a deficiency judgment state only if it is non-purchase money. So what does that mean? The loan that was given to purchase the property is protected from a deficiency judgment. If they refight it, it is not, which is huge. Each state is different, and you should find out what your state laws are on deficiency judgments. So you don't give the short sale letter to the buyer's agent, even if they ask for it. They don't need it. You just tell them now, and you may have to do an addendum. The close of escrow is X. You got 30 days to close this. Trying to get in an extension on a short sale approval letter can prove to be very difficult. I have come down to, I can tell you how many times that I have come down to the wire, and for whatever reason, the buyer's lender can't close. And even if it's 1 to 2 days, and they do this on a Friday, I am scrambling, going up the chain to somebody high up, vice president to the president of the bank, to get somebody to answer the phone to get this postponed quickly. I could tell you some crazy stories, but you really got to stay on your buyer's agents and get that closed in a timely manner.
And just like any transaction, Kathy, there's so many moving parts leading up to when we get it. It's keeping the buyer sticky with the transaction, keeping the buyer's agent sticky. There's so many moving parts because so many people are into instant gratification. Some of the pitfalls of the buyer, they get anxious and say, well, I'm just going to go find something else. And keeping the buyer sticky to the transaction is really the hardest thing to do.
And yeah, and here's a point. You know, when you open escrow at the beginning of the short sale process, I do. Taking the earnest money deposit, you need to check with your broker, because I've had this happen, is that the money gets put into escrow, the buyer's money gets put into escrow, and for whatever reason, the seller goes and files bankruptcy. Well, what happens in bankruptcy court is they lose their authority to do anything with the property.
Yep.
the trustee of the bankruptcy court has all authority over everything of the seller's assets. So to release the earnest money funds back to the buyer, you have to go to the trustee in that situation. And I've had that happen to me a few times. And it got to the point after that my broker decided that we weren't going to put the earnest money deposit into escrow at the time of the short sale. And it was only after the approval that the money would go in. It's risky, but the other way is risky too. So what I suggest is talk to your broker on how you want to handle that.
Results may
Broker
vary
is different.
for sure. Yeah, results may vary for sure. And Kathy, I want to bring something up real quick. Seth, out of Oregon and Washington, mentioned something really important. The initial meeting with the client is critical to vet whether they're actually qualified for as a short sale candidate. Just because if they want to sell, they don't have to be a short sale. Let's make sure that they verify that their hardship is actually true and documented. There's a lot of moving parts, and it's best to do it up front. So anyway, continue.
Yeah.
This is great stuff.
Well, yeah. I mean, hardship is a loss of job, an illness, a temporary illness or a long-term illness, a death in the family. Those certain things happen. It can even be a job relocation.
Yeah.
I did a lot of short sales for a lot of military back in the day because they got orders to move. They had to sell their house. Even though they can, make the payment or not, they had to move. They got orders. So there are lots of different ways that a hardship can go. Even a job relocation in the civilian sector. They're moving, they got a job in another state.
Yeah.
That can deem a hardship on somebody here in your state. Homeowner's future matters. This is where, when you have that initial conversation and they've already gone through the loss mitigation, they can't keep their home or whatever, and it comes up, well, there's no money there, I'm just going to let it go back to the bank. Okay, I understand that, but Mr. Seller, are you planning to get a new job? Well, yeah, I plan on getting a job. Okay. Do you realize that a foreclosure on your record will prevent you from getting certain jobs? Are you in the military? Are you in law enforcement? Do you work for a financial institution? They can lose their security clearances with a foreclosure. I had an FBI agent. I think I said this earlier. He was like, anything that you can do to get this short sale done. I cannot lose my job.
Yeah, that's brutal. That's just brutal. Talk about stress.
Yeah. And so the other thing that you talk about is, Mr. Seller, you let your home go into foreclosure. Do you want to be a homeowner again? Well, yeah, I do, some time to recover and all that. Okay. Well, let me tell you, if you do a short sale, you'll be able to purchase in 2 to 3 years. Again, if you go let it go to foreclosures, it could be as long as 7 years before you'll be able to buy again, and anybody will lend to you. So what would be to your benefit? Not my benefit, your benefit. Because this is your decision, not mine. I can walk away right now. So you need to know this stuff in talking to these people. Yeah. The short sale isn't always the answer. We talked about reinstatement, loan modification, forbearance. That is all ways that they can keep their home, or if they can come up with the money, and there is still homeowner grants, distressed homeowner grants available, and they may come back more so than they are now, but they're to get them caught up. Next is, selling. The 14-day home offers is the best way to sell because you can prove to the bank that you did your best. Cash sale, a lot of times they come in very low and the banks know better and they won't take them. Short sale, Bankruptcy will stall the foreclosure process, but it doesn't stop it. A lot of people say, well, I'm just going to file bankruptcy. It'll stop it. You're still going to lose your home. Tax professional. They need to get with a tax professional because of that deficiency. There is something that's called phantom tax. And anytime that you settle with on a short sale, that deficiency judgment, or even not the deficiency judgment, if any debt is canceled, it's a phantom tax. It can be income taxed. So you need to meet with, you need to refer them to a tax professional that they talk about it to find out what the tax repercussions are. The tax repercussions on a short sale are far less than they are a foreclosure, because the foreclosure always goes back to the bank for a lot less. If somebody buys it on the courthouse steps, a lot less than if they were to short sale it.
Yeah, the 14-day home offer platform is certainly, I think, the best option, regardless of their circumstances, for sure.
So the bottom line is the homeowner has a problem and we have the ways to help. We listen to them. We understand their situation. We come from compassion. I can't stress that enough. If you're going to come in there to try and get the sale, don't try, please. You know, we're not there to capitalize on their hardship. We're there to help them recognize the potential options. And, you know, you should be doing your due diligence before you even meet with them. If you have their address, you'll be able to find out whether they're going to be a short sale candidate or not. Bring the right professionals. You know, this is where we build our team. Bankruptcy attorneys, divorce attorneys, estate financial planners, tax experts. We need all these people. And then help the homeowner move forward. Get them to look to the future and have hope in their future.
Yeah. That's the hardest part, Kathy, right there, is just having hope. And we're just trying to guide them through that.
Yep. Key principles of every short sale. Do the math. Determine whether it's a short sale. Get current requirements. Go to the servicer or bank's website. Create the market. Maximum exposure of buyers. That's where the 14-day home offer comes in. Respect every timeline. You need to stay on top of those timelines, because if it gets too far out, you may not be able to save it. And that way you stay on top of the timelines and you can pivot. One of the things that I did in the previous market, because I didn't have the 14-day home offers, is when I took a short sale listing, I would put in there, we will reduce the price $5,000 every week until it sells. That seems harsh, but the reality is we didn't have the buyers and they weren't buying. So we had to get to that price point and quickly, because we didn't have a lot of time. So that's something to keep in mind. We would rather start helping them at the beginning of the process than, 5 days from auction.
That happens a lot. Oh, man.
So Partner Plus, I'm happy to help you and guide you through your first 3 short sale transactions. I have negotiated over 300 short sales successfully with a 95% close rate. And as I said, I have actually counseled over 1,000. We can analyze your situation and so on and so forth. And so if you want to know more about that, Robert put, I believe, for Partner Plus.
I'll put the what she's referring to is we coach, train, and mentor agents all over the country. And in this process, if somebody runs across a short sale situation, a FSBO expired, but primarily a short sale situation that there's a lot of moving parts, reach out to us and we'll certainly customize a game plan to help you dominate that market, because it is a market that needs special skills. That's just the way it is. And if you don't know how to do it, it's very difficult. So I'll put some information in the chat for you.
All right. So
It's
here,
like we got Kathy. That, by the way, first of all, thank you for sharing. That was huge. That comes from your heart because you've been there, done that. You know what's going on. So I want to take my hat off to you. Thank you, Kathy, for that
thank you.
nice presentation. I'll put the information on how you can reach out to us in the chat. But let's go to some questions. I've got ladies first. Let's go to Wendy Martin out of Oregon, Washington.
Hmm.
What's
I
going
got two.
on? First
Thank
of
you.
all, have you been
Yes.
fishing lately?
We'll talk about that later. This is more important. Seth's been fishing. I've been falling off ladders. Kathy,
Yes.
the two questions. The first one is the number one thing we did in negotiating and closing over 200 short sales was we kept the live ammo in our pocket from when we needed it.
Yes.
That ammo was, we are going to open a ticket with the CFPB. Can we
Mhm.
still do that? Is there anybody left?
I really don't know at this point. There may be a few people left. I know the CFPB is still there, but if they have anybody really in their loss mitigation department, I'm not sure.
Rick Sharga said, just do it. Nobody's going to know if anyone's there or not. The ticket opening is scary enough.
Yeah,
Like B of A had so many tickets against them. I don't believe they're still in business. Okay,
yeah.
the next question is, what are the top like 2 or 3 things you think have changed since the last short sale cycle?
They know that they need us. They
Wow.
need us. In the beginning of doing the short sales back in 2005, 2006, they thought we were the enemy. It was really hard to get them that we're part of their team. We're there to help them because with everything that happened after that, especially by 2008 when it really crashed, and they were seeing all these delinquent mortgages on their record, they couldn't lend money. And that was the collapse of Countrywide, and there was another one that started with an A. Yeah, I forget, but there were a lot of them. Linton Loan Servicing was another one that went under. Washington Mutual.
A lot of them hit the dust for sure.
Yeah. So Wachovia, which got
Lehman
pulled
Brothers.
up by Wells Fargo and Washington
Put
Mutual's
Lehman Brothers
case.
in there. Remember that little debacle?
Yeah. So there was a lot of things that happened. I think that's the number one is that I hope they still remember that they need us.
Do you think they wouldn't have gone out of business if they had done more short sales and less foreclosing?
Yeah, right.
Yeah. I believe that. And then later on, they did a lot of shifting of loans to servicers. They still owned them, but they were off their books. There was a lot of maneuvering back then that
They didn't know
I
what they were
really don't want to
doing.
get into, but yeah,
They didn't
there
know
was a
what
lot of
they were
things that
doing.
happened.
There was a lot of moving parts. People were learning on the fly. I can tell you this time around, it's going to be here, but it's going to be way more systematized.
Hmm.
It is still going to be here, and you're still going to need to know how to deal with it. But that you're going to find that the banks are going to be on top of their game. They want to minimize because no one wants a 6 month short sale approval. By then, they're missing out. Their cancellations are too high. It was a bad business model. So I think you're going to find a more systematized manner, and I think the short sales are going to come before the REOs. In my opinion, they're going to exhaust all those
Right.
options, and then you'll see the REO.
Because the last thing they want to do is foreclose on somebody. Because if they have a 500,000 non-performing loan, they have to have $2 million in liquid reserves before they can lend any money. Well, the banks are in the business of lending money. That's how they make money off the interest. And if they have to keep that much reserves in there, it puts a very strong stress on the bank.
It sure does.
So they want to get rid of these and not foreclose on them. Because if they foreclose on them, that's a non-performing asset that they have on their books.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing I think that they have learned, and where it goes back to they need us. They really need us.
Amy says banks need the money. They sure do.
They do.
Good. What other
They do.
questions do we guys got? We've got a few more minutes. Let's do some Q&A. We're at the top of the hour. Let's get a couple of questions, anything else? I know that Seth, thank you so much, Seth, by the way. You know what, Seth, if you can unmute yourself, because I want to ask you a quick question. What would you like to say? Because you've got a huge background in this space. What are some nuggets you'd like to drop off with the folks paying attention today?
Well, first of all, Kathy, that was really a very
Oh,
good
thank you.
presentation.
Mhm.
Wendy and I were in the same boat when you experienced it. When Lehman Brothers crashed in 2008, we were overseas watching BBC, and that's when we had to pivot to do short sales because traditional was just wiped out.
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is really considerably different than what we saw some 18 years ago is that the fact that banks are now recognizing the benefit of having negotiators negotiate the short sale directly. It's a huge time saver for any agent out there trying to get a short sale done. Our job is to sell homes.
Mhm.
And as in the old days, we had to negotiate all of these sales ourselves,
Yeah.
collect all the hardship data, fax it in reams that would be an inch to 2 inches thick, and hope to God they got all the pages. That was a nightmare. Right now, it seems that they've turned the page, and there are national firms that will negotiate the short sales for you.
Mhm.
And they're paid straight off the top of the sales proceeds, off the HUD payoff statement. So they normally charge about $5,000. This is generically held to be the case because that's what I've seen locally here. And it really makes a huge difference. You talk about building your team. If someone's going to get into short sales, I highly encourage you to vet and get a negotiator with mass experience in doing short sales because it's going to save you a world of hurt and a world of pain.
Oh, yeah, I can totally agree with you. I had on average 30 listings, short sale listings at any given time. And I negotiated them myself.
Mhm.
Part of that was because I was a control freak, and it's like all the other negotiators said, well, we have an 80% close rate. Sorry, I have a 95% close rate. You're not good enough for my clients.
Yeah.
That was on me. I could have done better, but I care about my clients. I told the story about my client that, I've helped them 5 times now since 2011.
Yep.
I, yeah, if I, but you have to really vet that negotiator. Are they going to take the care that you would?
Yep.
And I'm not recommending you do your own short sale packages and all of that. I'm not saying that.
No.
You can hand it off, but you need to know what's needed because you also are responsible for that negotiator to make sure that they have everything they need and that they're on top of it. And if they're not communicating with that negotiator through the bank, the loss mitigation negotiator through the bank every week, they're missing it. And I would call. I had my call sheet on and my system. Okay, I'm calling on this file, this file, this file to follow up, and I did. And if I hadn't done that, things would have got lost through the cracks.
Well, hey, Kathy, we've got a hard stop here. So I can tell you
Okay.
this, guys. Kathy is the most diligent person I would reach out to. So if you have a short sale question, reach out to Kathy directly, reach out to her, pick her brain. I'm telling you what, she's been there, done that. There's a question in the chat from Steve. Steve, do you also partner with banks, asset managers to divest, sell properties? Yes. Jeff Russell's on the call right now. Jeff, Wendy, myself, Seth, a lot of us work with the banks because not every person that wants to keep their home that's in a distressed situation gets to keep their home. A lot of them, unfortunately, like Kathy said, they bury their head in the sand, hope it gets better. Next thing you know, it's Jeff or I knocking on their door saying, here's an offer for cash for keys. The home's been foreclosed on. So yes, we absolutely help the corporate sellers. But remember, our number one goal is to help people not get foreclosed. We want to
Yes.
help them sell their home for the highest and best price and they can walk away with cash. If they can't walk away with cash, we want to minimize the foreclosure. We want to minimize foreclosure. We don't want foreclosure to happen if at all possible. And then, yes, the corporate sellers do call us because we're really good at what we do. and selling their home. So the default market is a niche. There's notice of defaults, notice of trustee sales for short sales. And when in the event that you're having relationships with the loss mitigators, right? You're building those relationships, and that will inevitably position yourself to get into the REO space down the road. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So thank you guys for joining us. Next week, we're doing an overview of the 14-day home offers and all the new stuff that is happening in that world, because it's exciting with the platform. So same time, moredealsmastermind.com. Robert?
Well, you know what, guys? I tell you what, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for jumping on the More Deals Mastermind today. Kathy, Ryan, you hit it out of the park with short sales. Guys, use the link. Check out the chat box. Jump on the links. Reach out to us. Let us help you get to where you need to go. And remember, Kathy, we'll see you in escrow.